Hey guys! So as I promised most of you in my Snapchat video, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And as I mentioned in my video on Snapchat, it is NEDA Week, National Eating Disorders Awareness Week. And I'll be talking to you a little bit about eating disorders. First of all, what is it? What is an eating disorder? It's a pretty wide kind of definition, but pretty much the straight, clear-cut Google definition is that it is a psychological disorder characterized by abnormal eating. And that could vary. Like, you could have anorexia nervosa, eating disorder not otherwise specified, and binge eating disorders. These are all disorders that fall under the umbrella term of an eating disorder. So anorexia is probably the one that is probably most obvious, since when someone is anorexic, he or she is morbidly thin, and it's very obvious. Like, you see someone who's 90 pounds or less or more, or somewhere along in that range, is very obvious. She probably has an eating disorder. So that's what an eating disorder is, and how does it happen? How do you get an eating disorder? So most people are genetically predisposed to getting these disorders. It doesn't just come. And it's not necessarily from the media, the parents, the home. Something is in the brain that makes the individual suffering genetically predisposed to getting an eating disorder. It could be the genetic makeup, something. Most of the time it is the genetic makeup of the individual. And once he or she has the eating disorder, something that usually is, or well, always is very, it impedes recovery, is the triggers. Oh, the triggers. So a trigger can be a comment, being around friends who are super competitive, competition itself. Anything for anyone is a trigger. And it's super individual. Triggers are real. They're there. We don't like to talk about them, but they're there, and they just fire in the brain. And it's real, and it's messy, and it's not fun, but it happens, and help should be sought if you are experiencing any of these symptoms of triggers, or if you think you're suffering, get help. That's the point of this video. So why, what is going on here? Is there something deeper to fasting? Why, what even, how did it even come about? So actually, fasting and being really thin is semi-historic. It actually is historic. What am I saying? It is historic. In the olden days, I guess you could say, women who were super thin, who were rail thin, women who we think today are anorexic then would be considered holy and close to God. So why is that? And even today, practices in India somewhere, fasting people are considered super spiritual. And I can tell you from personal experience, from going long periods of time without eating, there is a sense of euphoria. You do feel some sort of, I recall one time when I was in Binghamton, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more, there was one day I just couldn't stop laughing. And you do feel you're intoxicated, or you had just smoked some marijuana. It's similar. It's similar to that, because your brain is not balanced. It's not. There's something. You're on a different level of consciousness when you are in that state of starvation, and I don't recommend it. I don't. There are other ways to obtain euphoria. It is dangerous. I almost died. Okay, so some statistics. 1 in 3 women will get an eating disorder in her lifetime, unfortunately. That's the reality. It has the highest mortality rate of any mental illness. And it is more common among women than men, though the number is rising for men, unfortunately. It's the reality. People suffer from eating disorders. It happens. It's a Western disease. There's not much we can do to really stop it, unfortunately, but there is hope. There's always hope, and get help if you need it. So a little bit about myself. My name is Lily, for those of you who don't know me. Hello. I have suffered from an eating disorder for quite some time. I sort of began playing around with food and kind of like maybe not really skipping meals, but kind of like brown bagging my lunch when I was 12. Yeah, around 12. And I know, like, I mean, it didn't really seem like much of an issue. But I would eat less. I was conscious about my weight. And when the transition from middle school to high school was very difficult. Because in 8th grade, I kind of had my friends and everything. And then I went to a new high school, you know, far from home. And that's really when the antisocial behavior started for me, the anxiety, just wanting to be alone. That really started when I was around 14, and it would continue until it was an eating disorder. When I was 17, I stopped menstruating, and at that point, my parents realized I need serious help. And they tried to give it to me, and it didn't really work, unfortunately. So I went to Israel after high school, and things pretty much fell apart. Somehow, miraculously, I kept everything together, but it wasn't easy. It was a very big challenge, and I am a lucky person because I survived. Quite honestly, like anything could have happened, and it didn't. It just miraculously, something up there was watching me, and but it would get worse. It got worse when I got to Binghamton. That was probably the ultimate, you know, that was when I lost the most weight, and it was scary. Like, people were scared for me. And, you know, not a big secret, I don't talk to anyone from Binghamton anymore. I mean, once in a while someone will say hi, but no, it doesn't. I mean, it was hard. I didn't keep social connections. I wasn't healthy, and I needed help, and I didn't get it until actually, I don't remember the exact date of the decision, but I remember the year. It was around January 2009 when I decided no more. I took proactive steps to get better, but I didn't get the help that I needed. And I think that that's pretty much the point of this video, is really, if you're suffering, get the help you need. There are hotlines out there. There's the NEDA Helpline, and underneath the video, you will have links to these hotlines. By the way, something that I forgot to mention is that there's an extremely high comorbidity, especially with bulimia, between mood disorders and bulimia. And anorexia as well, because I could tell you personally, I was extremely anxious, and I still do suffer from anxiety. My anxiety is very real. My depression is very real. And it's not fun. It's scary. It's sad. It's real. It's a real feeling that I have. And people, well-meaning people, will try to help, but it's not until you find that even one person or significant other who's really gonna pick you up and just treat your mental illness like it's a physical illness. I mean, I'm lucky I have someone in my life who is beyond just everything. He really treats my depression as if it was a physical problem, which it is. It's in the brain, but most people don't see that. Most people, it's their get up, gung-ho, just suck it up and do it. It's something real. It needs to be addressed, and get help. You could Google Anxiety Hotline, Google Suicide Hotline. Get the help you need. You don't need to suffer. You don't need to. And by the way, talking about it helps. If you need to talk about it, talk about it. Find those people, find that platform, make a YouTube video. Do something, but you don't have to suffer. Get the help you need.